Yet another very animated, very intense, but also very friendly discussion and debate the other day with two gentlemen about the subject, the very hot, explosive subject of migration and immigration, and migration and immigration policy at the moment, which, in my view, is at breaking point. It's very, very chaotic, and we're at a very, very critical stage at the moment. But these two gentlemen I was talking to, much more, I suppose you might label them as more left leaning than me on this subject. I suppose I'd be called more right leaning, or quite a long way to the right, some people might say. But these two gentlemen, I suppose one was centre left and not too worried about the immigration and migration situation in this country. The other one was much further to the left, an older guy, senior guy. He really wasn't worried at all, and he talked about some of the very left wing, again, in inverted commas, left wing, using a lot of labeling and categorizing here, but you know what I mean. He was talking about a lot of the left wing protests that he went to in the 70s and 80s when he was much younger. It was a very friendly but very intense discussion, and as I always do, as you've probably heard me mentioning many times, I mentioned the subject of the aspect of our cultural identity, our national identity, which I feel is being eroded and blurred, and we're losing it very, very fast in this country now, amidst this, migration and immigration chaos, as I often see it a lot of the time. So I said, what about our national identity? Because these two gentlemen, one younger, one older, didn't see any issues at all with immigration or migration in this country, and they couldn't see how the subject of national identity and cultural identity for every country, not just this one, but for every country, was so important. And so I had very different views from them. But this older gentleman, he said, I want to see. I dream of a world without borders. I want a world with no borders. And I said, but what about the subject, the aspect of national identity? What about all our different identities and, cultural individuality and cultural differences? Each country has its identity. You don't want to lose that, do you? What about our identity? And he said, I think you can still have that as well. He said, you can still keep that. I don't see a problem with having a world without borders and also maintaining our national identity. Now, that confused me, that challenged me. I'm going to have to think about that and reflect on that a bit, because I always, for want of a better expression, talk bang on about national identity, don't I? And I feel very strongly about how we're losing ours, extremely strongly. I feel like this subject is explosive now, and it's wrong and bad the way that we're having our national identity eroded, and how often people don't know what country they're in anymore. They don't recognize their town or city centers. These guys that I was talking to, very nice, in this very intense debate, couldn't see it the way I was seeing it and didn't see it as a problem. But I suppose the salient point to this video is that this gentleman, older guy, who's very left-leaning, he wanted and saw and dreamt of a world without borders, which maybe when I was younger, more idealistic and more utopian, I would have agreed with that, and maybe I still do like that idea on one level. But then again, I think, well, do I actually? A world without borders, and what's wrong with borders? What's wrong with national identities? What's wrong with everyone having their individual cultural and national identity? And as I said, he said that you can keep that. You can have that. You can still have national identity. We can still keep that. That's not a problem. But at the same time, have a world without borders. Well, what do you think? That's really confusing. Food for thought there. Is that possible? I've got to try and get my head around that. What do you think? All opinions welcome, whether you agree or disagree with me or him, or whether you're somewhere in the middle. All opinions welcome as always. A world without borders, do you dream of that? Do you want that? And is that compatible with national identity, which I feel In fact, I know we're in perilous times because we're losing that and eroding that in this country very fast. What do you think